Hello, and welcome to When Wagon Wheels Were Bigger, the ill-researched, childhood-ruining podcast that takes another look at kids' TV from the 80s and weeps into its soda stream. I'm Martyn.
And I am Mark Palmer.
And in this episode, we're talking about Dogtanian, just like we threatened last time. So I know I had to twist your arm a little bit to watch this one, didn't I?
You did really, because I had watched the first 5 minutes not too long ago, and I found myself just upset at how wrong my childhood memory of this show was.
Do you want to go into that in a bit of detail? How wrong was it?
I remember it being a sprawling epic with, tears of laughter, tears of joy. I remember it just being this amazing experience that lasted for about 3 years of my life. And watching even the opening credits felt like 3 years of my life.
That is true. It is a very long opening.
It really is.
It goes on forever.
I mean,
it's a good song, though. It's
a good song, but it doesn't mean I want to hear it for 3 years of my life.
Oh, well, fair enough then, I suppose. But it does take up a big chunk of this episode, and yet still the episode feels twice as long as it is. I don't really understand.
I think, as we, while we're watching it, I think it feels like a long time because nothing happens for 3 years of my life.
All right.
And now I have to watch it again.
Yeah, hooray! Well, considering we have so much time to talk throughout this episode because literally nothing happens, shall we start playing and we'll discuss it as it goes on?
We will. We'll play.
All right.
Ready? Now.
Yes,
bored already.
Song. You're bored already.
I have nothing to say. All right. My first comment.
Okay.
Is why is Dogtanian the only one with a dog name? I think we've talked about this.
Yeah.
Why have they not gone like it's quite rightly Debbie said last night, it could have been Porthos with P-A-W. I know you obviously wouldn't hear that.
That's very good.
But I'm going to make this full screen, I can't see it. There we go. I couldn't think of one for Aramis and Athos though.
Aramut? I don't know.
And
there isn't one for Athos. That's where it falls apart. If anybody comes up with one, then tweet us. Why not tweet us with a better idea?
Tweet at Spread the Women with a better idea for. But we've done Porthos.
Porthos is in the bag. That's locked.
He's done. I mean, that's when this gets remade, which I'm surprised it hasn't been already.
Yeah,
Porthos is in the bag, but it's just Aramis and Athos. This is going on forever.
It is. What are we at? What's the time now? We're at 1:12.
We're at 25
minute
minutes
and 12. Oh, there is another 30 seconds of this. I did write down, actually, how long is this? At 1:45 it's due to end. So, hold on in there.
Those pieces of apple floating to the floor, defying physics.
They do.
I don't believe that sword would be sharp enough to do that.
I don't think any sword is sharp enough to do that.
I wish I had a potato, like an apple peeler, actually, that was sharp enough to do that. 1981. Actually, I didn't notice that last time I watched it.
I know, it's really early, and it can't have been on TV for us until at least sort of 85 or 86.
I would have been 2, so I certainly didn't watch it at 2.
No.
I mean, I'm sure I would have been interested in maybe the colours, but certainly not the movement, because there isn't any. Oh, look, some trees. Long shot of some trees. Here we go.
They do also. What confused me watching it again was that the narrator talks about musketeers, and yet it's definitely written on the screen Dogtanian and the Three Muskehounds. So they don't even pay attention to their own intro.
It'd be interesting to see. Not that I'm going to ever watch any more of these. Is if I mean all through the episode, yeah, like you said, that the characters refer to them as musketeers as well. But surely at some point, maybe, I don't know, they must adopt the name Muskehounds? I don't know.
They must have done. I do remember referring to them as Muskehounds when I used to talk about it, I'm sure. But
Yeah, it's...
This kid goes on about being cowardly, and he's the one throwing mud around.
Why does Dogtanian's nose go red?
I know, I couldn't work that out. I thought, you seem to remember, it did it when he was embarrassed, because when he used to, be with Juliet, and she would say something, and he would get a bit, blushy, and his nose would go red, but he does it there. Does that mean he fancies his mate Francois?
I think it's established they're not really friends. I mean, even there's a bit at the end when, I won't ruin it now, when their farewell, it's just hilariously badly dubbed. Just dubbed clearly with the wrong emotion that was being said in French.
Did you catch where this horseman comes from?
No.
Paris!
Oh, that's funny, I did. I have noticed that. Paris!
Not Paris, like you think.
I've been to Paris, but I've never been to Paris.
Paris!
It's disappointing. Paris is disappointing. Full of French people. Wasn't expecting it.
And then he tells him that he's heard of him, and the guy says, "That's nice," and then rides away.
They shout. Everything is shouted in this show.
It is.
And maybe because it was originally in French, and the English, as we know in England, that to speak French you just have to speak English loudly. Maybe the narrator and the dubbing people went the same route.
That is a very good explanation. I hadn't thought of that.
We just shout everything. It's like they're speaking French to them. Also, there's about maybe 2 people, or 2 characters I should say, in this episode that have a French accent, whereas they couldn't be bothered for anyone else.
Is this not a French accent? Is Paris not the way that people say it in Paris?
It is. Je m'appelle j'habite à Paris.
Oh, I see. Again, the English way of learning French is just to, repeat the first word from a textbook and then just talk in English.
Yeah, je m'appelle Mark.
This is another creepy, another creepy grown-up figure in an 80s cartoon. This teacher is very odd.
He is. I think it's just maybe just teachers in the 80s.
Just ushers Francois inside in a bit and...
Pop quiz, hotshot. What dog is the teacher supposed to be? I haven't got an answer. I just...
Oh, right. Well, I can say anything then.
No, I haven't looked it up or anything.
Bloodhound. I don't know, he's got...
Correct.
Looks a little bit... Hooray, what did I win?
You won the right not to watch this anymore. This is an example now. Hey, Dogtanian, you want to fight some more?
But he does come up with the best diss ever. He just walks, keeps running, goes past.
No, this is
you would diss like a punk,
my favourite bit of
Francois.
the whole episode is what the teacher says now when he says, "Oh, you really need to get some better friends." And then, "Hey, you lot, get away!" Just shouts at them to leave any minute now. Oh, it's so funny.
And then ushers him inside.
Yeah.
Behave more like a male son. That's like a female son.
Yeah. No,
not a daughter.
Now Francois secretly says while standing right next to the teacher, "Hey, we'll meet up later, guys," in the secret. Right.
Yeah.
Also, Dogtanian saw him heading towards his house, this musketeer. But look how far he has to run. How good are his eyes? I mean, I know dogs see better than people, do they? I don't know, maybe.
Well, he'd be following his sense of smell, wouldn't he, as a dog?
Oh, that's true.
I don't know.
Why are the horses not anthropomorphized? I can't even say the word. Anthropomorphized.
It is always a problem with this kind of thing, isn't it? When you turn one species into into a humanized version, and then you just leave all the other animals the same.
Because Milady's a cat, isn't she? And
yeah.
I've always thought Cardinal Richelieu was more a wolf than a dog. I know technically a wolf is part of the dog family, but
I hadn't really even thought about it. I'd only sort of thought about the way that they act, because they generally are basically acting like humans, except for they do whimper and growl and stuff.
And they do crap on lawns.
And they do, yes, they do that as well.
That's in episode 2. Dogtanian has a crap.
But it already sounds like more happens.
Yeah, it does. I mean, he tries to bury it. It's unsuccessful.
I do like the abruptness of the dubbing means that the goodbye in a minute did make me laugh out loud, where he basically slams the door in this nobleman's face. I was honoured to meet you, sir. Goodbye. Here we go.
Oh yeah, that's what you mean. No, I hadn't pegged that at all. Dogs with mustaches are confusing. That confuses me.
Yeah, although is it just the whiskers sort of slicked into a shape of a moustache?
Maybe I should.
Either way,
it's wrong. And also, oh no, they are all wearing trousers. Do you know when I watched it, I thought they're not wearing trousers, but they are. So ignore that comment. Not weird. Yeah, now he's shouting. Now, how far has he gone before he shouts after and still hears them? Look. I'm not a servant. He's got a really annoying voice.
His voice is really annoying, yeah.
Oh, then you come to Paris and see me.
Paris!
Do you know what? It's like in that episode of Friends with Gary Oldman where they're going, the pasta and potatoes. It's like that. Maybe it's Gary Oldman.
Maybe Gary Oldman looked at this episode for his inspiration on how to play that character.
Yeah, but it could be. Hang on, the dad wasn't wearing trousers because his tail is the same colour as his trousers. Unless the trousers have like a tail hole or like a tail sheath.
I think it's difficult to tell with his dad because he's just his fur colour is very dark anyway. I hope he is wearing trousers.
Maybe we're just examining it too much. I mean, I think there's a pig. She was a pig, wasn't she? The housekeeper was a pig.
Yes, looks like. Although from that angle, maybe not.
Oh. Now I just don't know what to think.
I've lost interest. No, I don't know. I can't really tell some of them.
Other than the characters being replaced with dogs and a cat and possibly a pig, I wonder how. I've never read The Three Musketeers. I've seen the film with Roy Kinnear and Oliver Reed, but that was a long time ago.
That's probably just as good.
I don't know. And I'm not sure how closely this follows to the plot of the Dumas novel. Or if you've got Shawshank Redemption, dumbass.
Well, I was looking up the characters because I couldn't remember which one was Athos and which one was Porthos. And apparently they're reversed in this.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, in the book,
really?
Athos is... Porthos is the bigger, the stronger character.
And it's swapped in this, is it?
But that's just from a Dogtanian sort of Wikipedia thing, so it could not be true.
I did bring up on my phone ready, just in case I wanted to refer to Wikipedia at any point. The Wikipedia entry for Dogtanian and the Three Musketeer Hounds. Oh, it's not even French, it's Japanese and Spanish.
Oh, ruined already. See, ill-researched.
So would it
We're living up to it.
Yeah, we are, aren't we? So would this have been in Japanese? That explains why they're like shouting, because it's anime.
That does make sense. And also, it explains the sort of David Bowie from Labyrinth laugh that the dad just did there, where he didn't finish his sentence, but then laughed.
Oh, that just makes... You think this is the real Quaid? It is. That's how he goes.
You think this is the real Quaid? It is.
It says here, Dogtanian's two sidekicks, Pip the Mouse and Planchet the Bear. When do they have? Where are they? Hang on, this is great.
Memory.
Ah, your tea is shit. Oh, dear. No, I used to leave the windows open. Not like that. You wouldn't, would you? Security risk.
You just wouldn't.
I wouldn't. He's very dishevelled. He
not
sleeps
not with punks like Francois hanging around the village.
I've said it before. Bloody punk kids. That's the problem. His coveralls have changed colour.
He's a nasty piece of work, is Francois.
He looks more like a bald man with kind of long hair, doesn't he?
Did they have hologram letters in those days?
I believe it's an integral part of the original novel.
Oh.
The hologram letter scene, I think. I believe it was in the Oliver Reed adaptation as well.
Francois is a proper nasty piece of work here because cheery music plays, but he's getting his friends to basically set death traps for a child.
Yeah. I mean,
these are hole... not... Yeah.
Is this hole deep enough? It is. I can't get out. Hooray!
There's some proper nasty things happening here, and we're just...
But who's worse, Francois or the sheep that follow him and do everything he says? I think they're more dangerous because clearly it's like a hive mind.
Because what if an even worse kid comes along, beats up Francois, and just turns these kids into a sort of mini crime wave?
I think that could be a problem. But luckily, Dogtanian, just bad for them. This made me laugh. I mean,
it made no sense to me for a good sort of.
Sorry for swearing. My suit of armour is going walkabouts or whatever. What What?
Mental breakdown.
I want to know what it was said in the original, in the original Japanese / Spanish version of this. Because I watched this again. I seem to watch these things in preparation, normally around midnight, as I'm going to bed. And I watched it, and I did declare the words that are abbreviated to WTF quite loudly.
I think I have written that down. I've written WTF Ghost Armour.
Yeah. I think I had to scrub YouTube back and watch it again just to make sure it wasn't some sort of very tired hallucination. And why has this Suit of Armour got rickets as well?
I like the narrator. Hopefully uses the words "brave men" ironically, because otherwise bravery is measured very differently in France.
I think it is anyway.
It probably is.
Why is the armour still there? I know it is revealed in a minute that, very improbably, it is being used as a marionette somehow.
Yeah, God knows how.
Between trees.
If Dogtanian can float across between trees to control this marionette, then he's got nothing to worry about from Francois or any number of kids that might attack him.
Or indeed the Musketeers when he inevitably...
Or anybody.
inevitably
or a supernatural being.
Them. But also, there's one of the dogs up the tree as a lookout. It was a really bad lookout. Because he would have seen D'Artagnan climbing the tree. And also, this suit of armour, I don't know, I'm hoping it was only ornamental because there's no way that D'Artagnan's dad could ever fit into that armour.
No.
The
and presumably also,
wrong.
D'Artagnan's voice must be coming from above them.
Which,
is a clue.
Even a French kid would figure that out.
Yeah, I've made a lot of racist notes here about the French people because in a little while, Dogtanian does talk about honour, and Francois recoils in horror at the word honour, as if it's a bad word in France.
But like bravery is...
like bravery and honour. And yet Francois throws around the word coward, and they're all quite happy with that.
I mean, as British people, we've been mocking the French for years. Personally, I have no problems with the French. I just like to say that on record now. But for the purposes of this podcast, his nose is red again. Is he aroused? Or
it's just all emotions.
All emotions
make
are
his
through his nose.
Glow.
To be fair, though, to these other kids, D'Artagnan is quite a ruffian. I can see what Francois' teacher is on about. To be honest, look at him.
Lots of head bashing.
Yeah,
that's twice in 2 days for Francois.
I mean, I'm amazed that first one went down, although this one is considerably larger.
Well, the teacher did promise to take care of his lump, which was quite a worrying statement.
Oh.
Didn't really want to put any more thought into that.
I hate Dogtanian. Dogtanian is definitely the Scrappy-Doo of this cartoon. Oh, that's so my catchphrase.
He is.
I'm going to somehow bring it into everyday life.
He actually, that makes him... he's the first person to be the Scrappy-Doo of his own show, isn't he?
He is. I'm gonna use this in everyday life. Every time I enter a room, I'm gonna decide who the Scrappy-Doo is
and announce it loudly.
And announce that you are the Scrappy-Doo of this room. And I like to think I'd always be the Fred, but probably more the Velma.
I wouldn't want to be the Fred. I think it's dull being the Fred.
Do you think?
Yeah.
That's a strange sentence.
If you're the Shaggy, at least there's sort of big sandwiches to look forward to.
I do love a big sandwich. And flares and green t-shirts. This is very ominous, this storm, isn't it?
It is.
But in a minute he says, I think there's a storm coming. Really? Did you not notice that? When the clouds came over?
Metal swords in a thunderstorm. This is the worst idea ever. What a bad parent.
He is a bad parent. Well, I think the sword fight was bad enough.
Well, yeah, just handing a small child a large sword and then attacking him. I don't know what he expects to happen here, really.
No. I wonder if you could dub this with the sword fight from The Princess Bride.
I think you should do that. Because now I need to see it.
Yeah, I think that'd be quite good. It certainly would improve. There's lightning. They're so dangerous. I mean, maybe he does look like he's wearing rubber gloves, so maybe that's his protection.
Well, yeah, he's wearing a lot more protection than his young son, who I don't know how old Dogtanian's supposed to be. But,
12? I don't know.
12, let's say 12. 12 is a good answer whenever you ask any sort of number-based question, really, I think.
You should learn to be more humble, son.
Yeah, see, like dog whimpering and this...
Sweaty dog face.
Sweaty dog face. Dogs don't sweat, though, do they? Isn't that why they pant?
Yes.
That's bad research on the part of the Dogtanian animators there.
I mean, we criticised ourselves for not doing proper research, but I mean, at least the Japanese/Spanish company that researched this did less research than we did.
Yes.
I mean, if they'd read the book, they'd know there were no dogs in it.
He says something like, "Hey, he nearly killed me." You know, he's so proud that my son nearly killed me.
Well, I'd be proud of that as well. I think it's something every father wishes their son would be capable to kill them. I'm surprised he's having another cup of tea with her. I mean, he didn't like the last one, did he?
A boy his age, well, he must be at least 12, but get our son out of the house. I've had enough. I just want to drink tea with you and have an empty house.
This tea is horrible. It's, I mean, yeah, I don't know how old like I said, I've not read the books. I don't know how old D'Artagnan would be.
Well, he's young enough that he's playing in the field with toy swords, with like wooden swords, so... And yet also in France, somehow old enough to just get kicked out of house with just a tiny knapsack and a hat.
And a sash. A leather
And
sash.
a sash.
Well, a belt,
A sash
isn't it?
as well.
It's probably the dad's belt. It looks about the right size.
Yeah. That's not the same sword from the opening, though, is it?
No.
Okay. I may have to watch more of these just to find out what happens.
I don't think you should. I don't think anyone should waste it. Anyone who might listen to this, don't even waste your time watching the show along with this episode.
A continuing theme of this programme is that I have got the DVD box set, and yet again I never made it past disc 1.
It's just
Why
one of
does
those
he
things.
look mental?
He's leaving home.
She just looks bored, his mother. She doesn't look all that worried. She just
I
wants
think
to be
it's
somewhere else.
I think it's supposed to be sad.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. There you go. Here's another sort of impromptu laugh.
He finds it funny. Your fate awaits you. That sounds a bit ominous the way he said it. This is a bit... I'd forgotten Sandy the horse, and then that
Yes.
seemed to bring back all the other memories of the show as soon as she appeared, or he appeared. I assume it's a she.
Sandy looks very ill-treated.
He's very nice, Dad.
But, you know, helpful.
Helpful. Definitely helpful. Just the dead eyes just make me very sad.
Oh, don't be sad. What you should
Don't
be
like-
sad
don't
about
like
is
seeing-
that this is now the second time I've had to watch this.
I don't like seeing dogs or horses get mistreated in anything, and yet this is sort of seems to be containing everything that I hate. Dogs getting bashed on the
Oh no,
brains
it
with...
was a dad waving goodbye to
sticks.
them because he was looking way off into the distance. He wasn't looking.
He's not with it. He doesn't know what's going on.
Another thing I've forgotten is this balm will cure all wounds.
All wounds, yeah.
I'd forgotten that as well. I mean, as soon as he said it, oh, that would look like a bit of a incestual kiss, didn't it? We kissed at an end. How weird. This
Yeah,
is a
all
weird show.
wounds. Because I do remember that coming up, that he does get... Well, obviously, you know, you introduced it, so it has to be used at some point. But I do remember that balm, well, probably only features once, but in my memories of the show, I do remember it featuring quite heavily at some point.
Oh, the dad has emotions after all.
On the long road to Paris!
There it is.
And we're going to see the
Look how that
whole
horse walks.
journey.
Why has he been his knees up so far?
Because horses are difficult to animate, as we found out in Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah, of course.
What are you doing here, Francois?
I love this.
Bye, Dogtanian, don't come back!
Like to have one last fight before I
We
leave?
hate you, you beat us up.
So they'll start throwing rocks at him now.
Goodbye to me?
I was kind of expecting that. But I think, do you know what, I think in the original one, they probably didn't say nice things to him just because of the fact that anything nice that comes out of Francois' mouth, he looks very angry.
He does. And also, Dogtanian looks smug.
He does, but it's like Francois says, oh yeah, make sure you come back and visit. And I think it's any minute now. He's shaking his fist as he says it, I think. Is it this bit?
Yeah, he's really
Yeah,
angry there.
yeah, no, yeah.
He does shake his fist.
You better come back and visit, or why I order. I don't think Francois wants him to come back and visit.
Nobody would. Would you? Would you want him to come back?
No, I mean, no. He's a bully. I mean, they're waving though, but maybe they've got less fingers up as they're waving. It's hard to tell in the silhouette.
Don't come back, Dogtanian. Or do come back, but with a wooden sword, not a stabby sword.
That was. I also, it's quite nice you get a little a little snippet of the next episode as well.
In the next episode,
There's a
nothing
pig.
happens
There's a
again.
pig. There's another pig.
There was a pig. There's lots of pigs there. That's because he's in France.
Paris, you mean?
Paris! Oh,
So they're
I'd forgotten
edited
this was
by
like a
Soledad Lopez. There.
like a sort of
good editing,
synthesizer,
Soledad.
woof sample. Did you ever used to have like an electronic keyboard that you could sample sounds? And yeah, it's just basically done on that, isn't it?
Louis Castro, Fidel's brother, there did the music. It's no, I got a Casio keyboard for I believe my 9th birthday. And I learned how to play. No one cares about it. I'm going to tell you anyway. I learned how to play Doe a Deer, Silent Night, and Noel.
Did you do it with sort of a dog woof sound effect?
Well, clearly. That's the only way. I think that's what was intended in the original version of Silent Night. I mean, I think it's been slightly bastardised since then by the Church of England.
We didn't... I think it might as well become a regular feature. Who was your favourite character overall, when you look back at your memories of the... Because not from this episode, because there's no good characters in this episode, but when you look back at the series as a whole, from your childhood memories, who did you like the best?
I think Dogtanian's dad.
Really?
Because he wasn't in it much.
But did you have a favourite of the 3 Muskehound tiers?
I would imagine, whichever one was the big strong one that ate a lot in this version, Porthos or Athos, whichever one that is in this.
That was mine as well. See, I think the wiki that I looked at is wrong, because it says he's Athos, but I seem to remember him being Porthos.
I'd have to watch another one, which, as we've discussed, is not going to happen.
No, we won't do that. Let's just call him Athos
Gary.
then, because.
Oh.
But yes, he was.
Gary Musketeer, my favourite of all the
Gary.
Musketeers.
That was the sequel, Gary and the 4 Musketeers.
Was there a sequel series to this? Because I know with things like Willy Fogg, Around the World in 80 Days with not Willy Fogg. Yeah, Willy Fogg. That is
Yes,
right.
it was. Yeah.
There was a sequel one, but I think they may have gone to the centre of the Earth. Or I may have
don't know,
imagined
there's
that
that.
a minute ago in the middle of that sentence.
While you were so bored watching Dogtanian, you created a new childhood for yourself.
Yeah, I seem to remember something about that. I mean, maybe I think Willy Fogg, as it's another dubbed cartoon from
It's
Forest
very similar
Studio.
to that, isn't it?
Yeah, that went on for about 3.5 years, I think. It went on a bit longer than Dogtanian. And Mysterious Cities of Gold, which never ended. It's still on now.
It's still being made now.
Still being made. Actually, there is a new version of it I stumbled across. I don't think it's any better. But again, it's like this and Willy Fogg, and, it's just one of you kind of look back at. I remember, but we touched on this last time about the fact that in the UK anyway, in the 80s, it's kind of BBC One, ITV. If there was nothing on, then you would watch whatever there was, and it's that's why. Well, that's not why I watched them at the time. I'm sure I enjoyed them at the time, but it's kind of you'd watch what you could. I mean, it was before Sky TV.
It was just, why go out and play when there are cartoons on TV? It just seems that they're there for a reason. And it's why it's funny when people who are our age and maybe slightly older talk about young people staying in playing video games. And I think, well, you stayed in and watched Dogtanian, so, you can't really say anything.
It is similar, isn't it? I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit it, but I did watch a lot of television as a
still
child.
do.
Well, I still do as well. I mean, yeah. And, thanks to Sky Plus. Just to plug for Sky Plus. Sky Plus is possibly the best television.
Which package do you
system.
have?
I have the entertainment package, but if there are any Sky representatives listening that maybe want me to plug Sky Plus a bit more in the coming weeks, I'd happily upgrade to any of
Tell me, is it good value?
I think it's amazing value for money. I mean, I couldn't be without Sky Plus. Sky Plus, the choice is yours. That's not their logo.
So, that was Dogtanian.
It was.
I think we've already established the answer to the second recurring question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Would you watch this with your boys?
Yeah.
And would you?
If by watch it with my boys, you mean what they watch it when I'm in another room?
Okay. Or if you hadn't seen it, if you didn't have any familiarity with Dogtanian at all, and this was a kids' show on now that your children were watching, would you watch it with them?
No.
No.
I would also say, what are you doing wasting your time?
That was the least suspenseful question that I've ever asked anybody.
You think?
But yeah,
it's no.
I don't know.
Watch it again.
You said that you were bored. I remember when I tried to watch it a few years ago, having bought the DVDs, that I couldn't get much past that episode. But watching it on for this, I did sort of enjoy it. But I think that's because I was watching it with a different mindset than maybe I was watching it deliberately thinking, what can I say is stupid about this show?
Yeah, I mean that's why we're doing this, isn't it? I mean,
pretty much.
I didn't take any notes as such, but I was making mental notes of all the bits that were amusing, and there are quite a few. I mean, when I tried to watch it the other day, when we were considering doing it for a previous podcast, I got to the him running home, and I thought, there weren't even.
Do you know
words.
what I think it tapped into though for our youth was that there was a lot of kids' TV where the hero was a sword fighter or had a magic sword. So you had He-Man, you had Thundercats, things like that. I guess. I mean, I wasn't really into Star Wars, but I was aware of lightsabers. So Dogtanian having a sword instantly sort of gives him that appeal for the sort of 5 to 9 year old boy. Because I remember, I don't know if you ever had like plastic toy,
of course, yeah,
musketeer style swords as well. The same, with the rapier kind of sword. I remember snapping at least half a dozen of those. Actually, sword fighting with other kids with
Francois.
The same kind of toy swords. Yeah, with Francois, I was out there. He was setting death traps for me.
He's got it coming, isn't he? Really,
yeah.
Every time.
So that's the only thing I can really think that held a sort of universal appeal is that sword play element.
No, I can see that. I mean, at the time I loved it. Obviously, I mean, we've talked about it fondly. But memories are a funny thing, aren't they? They can lie to you.
All those days I can't account for.
My memories are rubbish. Stupid.
I can't remember what I did last week. So let alone.
I'm trying to block out what I've just done for the last 25 minutes.
You'll have to watch it again and remind yourself.
No.
All right. Any other thoughts that you have about Dogtanian apart from never going to watch it again?
A lot of the thoughts I've got I don't think could really be broadcast. I've already sworn more than I'd intended to while watching this episode. But, what the
it is, it's a disappointment, but I can see it, again, it's another one that, I don't know, same as Thundercats, there obviously is a long arc going on there, and the long road to Paris, I'm sure, feels just as long for us watching it as Dogtanian riding it.
I mean, how long would the trip from to Paris from his rural village be? Probably a few days.
And I imagine that we see every second of that journey
I think we
in
probably
painful
do.
detail.
We probably do. Oh God, awful. Yeah, hated it.
So if you've never watched Dogtanian and you're thinking of watching it, having listened to us talk over it,
Don't.
That's the only advice we can give you is don't. If you've watched it with us, then thank you for sharing our pain. And sorry. I think that's probably going to do it for this episode. Do you want to tell them where they can find us if they still care?
You can find me every Wednesday evening at Bring a Friend. You can find us on Twitter at Spread the Whimsy. And we've also got a Facebook page as well, which is obviously attached to that. You can find it through there. We also contribute, as contributors, I'm going to say every time,
as contributors,
to Fountain of Geek, which is where you're undoubtedly hearing this. If you got to the end,
anywhere else.
It won't be anywhere else. So yeah, we contribute to that. Fountain of Geek, a great website for all of geekdom. So yeah, you can find us there.
And you can also listen to our sister podcast, If You Like, which is much more professional and well thought out than this. So, there is some good content on Fountain of Geek.
Just maybe not ours.
Not ours. But I think that'll do it for this episode. Yeah, thanks for sitting through that. I will never recommend another episode of anything to you again.
No, I resent you slightly for it.
All right. Well, on that resentful note, we'll call it a day. But all right. Hope you join us next time, and we'll listen to something. Well, we'll watch something a bit better.
Right, bye-bye.
Bye.